As we've been trying to make our way out here. Now, this vehicle originally is taken out of the Monterey Park area. Now, Monterey Park has their own police department. They were the original ones in pursuit. Let's get to where we are right now. We'll bounce back and forth between the information. Right now, we're basically Sierra Madre. This is going to be westbound 210. We just shot that we had, that long shot, was actually the 605 transition. They were transitioning from the 605 onto the westbound 210. That white Lexus, that's the vehicle they're pursuing. Now, part of the crazy information that we've been listening to all afternoon is, well, Monterey Park and California Highway Patrol both in pursuit, and that's one of those ones where agencies, they have protocol and they have to give it up, and are they going to stay and are they not? But right now we understand California Highway Patrol took it over from Monterey Park. That vehicle apparently belongs to an officer of the law. We're not sure if it's a deputy or a police officer, but it's an off-duty officer that we do know right now. This is his vehicle, and there is a loaded weapon inside that vehicle. That's what we're hearing. Now, does the person that stole that car know that that weapon is in there? We don't have that information, and neither does the law enforcement behind him right now, which is going to make this for a very interesting chase indeed. Now, that Lexus moving along, pretty good clip out here. We're saying about 75 miles an hour. We're continuing westbound on the 210 freeway. Going to be coming out of the Sierra Madre area in just a minute or two. We're going to basically park Sky 9 and have them drive underneath us. But basically, we are going to be westbound right now, 75 miles an hour. Stolen vehicle, possible weapon inside because it's a law enforcement officer's vehicle. And right now, we're just going to be entering the Pasadena area.
All right, Stu Mandel, you've been listening to this live police pursuit, that white Lexus right there in the middle of your screen, moving into the number 1 lane, and it looks like, Stu, he's picking up some speed.
He's been moving pretty quick out here. When there's traffic, obviously he has to slow that thing down a little bit. But that car, pretty quick. It's a zippy little car, that is for sure. And he's been taking advantage of it. Now we're throwing out that we are assuming that it's a male driver. We do know it's a stolen vehicle, but we really don't have any information on the actual gender, and we don't really know exactly how many folks are inside that car. We're hearing law enforcement talking back and forth, trying to get a number. They've even been asked ourselves, do we see how many folks we see in there? Right now, those windows really tinted, unable to see what's going on inside that car. Moving along though, 210 freeway. It's amazing how when there's a chase, there is like almost no traffic out here. There was a bunch of traffic at the intersection though. The 605, right where the 210 was, there was a lot of traffic there. They did slow it down for a little bit, but when he picked that westbound 210, now he's really kind of just opening it up. We're not tracking yet, so I can't get you an exact number. I am listening, though. If they do shout it out, we will hear it. Now, they are already talking about trying to put spike strips out there, trying to bring this pursuit to an end, but it's going to be very difficult, even though it's light traffic out here, Sandra. Doesn't mean that is no traffic. There are a lot of other vehicles out here on the roadway and a freeway. It'll be very difficult to get those spike strips out there in front of that vehicle. Now, California Highway Patrol did take this over from Monterey Park PD. That's where this thing started. It was on the 10 freeway eastbound, got on the 605, and then we picked it up right as it transitioned onto the 210. Now, this car moving along out here, officers from California Highway Patrol right behind it. They have a helicopter above it. We believe it's going to be a sheriff's helicopter. I'm going to get that information from Pasadena PD's picking it up. And the sheriffs are over it. Timmy, my pilot today, giving me that information as we're talking. But you see that vehicle still moving along. Law enforcement right behind it. Lights and sirens.
Yeah, Stu, not really making any erratic moves, but he is just driving very fast. He's kind of sticking to one lane.
Sticking to one lane, nothing too erratic, that's for sure. And, you know, we always say, what is this guy thinking? Why are they running? Well, basically they're running because they don't want to go into custody. They don't want to have to deal with the law enforcement. But where is he going? You know what? Nobody ever really knows. One thing I was kind of curious about was where the car was taken from. Sometimes they make their way back to those locations or those general neighborhoods. Right now, though, this car just kind of moving along out here. And that weapon, that's going to be the big big thing out here, Sandra, because, if he has access to that gun, it's going to be a real problem. And just the fact that the weapon is confirmed inside the vehicle, he might not even know. The person who stole the car might not even know that there's a weapon in there. But there apparently is a gun. That's going to make this a very interesting and a very, very touchy ending when this comes to a stop. You can see the California Highway Patrol right behind it. Right now, I can tell you that we're pretty much tracking them. So we're going about 80 miles an hour this afternoon, 210 freeway westbound, well established in the Pasadena area. And you can see the car passing the other vehicles down there. But, it's California. Sometimes 65 is basically just a suggested speed. So you can see a lot of other folks down there moving along pretty well as well. But California Highway Patrol right now, they have a very serious situation on their hands. That stolen vehicle, possible weapon inside. Car belongs to an off-duty law enforcement officer. So right now, it could be very tense at the end. Right now, it's just the chase.
Yeah, Stu, I can bet that he's probably not going to jump off the freeway and go the other direction. The eastbound 210 looks like the traffic's already backed up.
Eastbound 210 is really backed up, and I'm telling you, I'm looking out the window, just kind of getting an idea of what's coming up. As we get into Pasadena proper, like up down by Old Town, it is going to be backed up. So this doesn't mean that they're going to have an opportunity to maybe pit them or block them in. We don't know how aggressive those law enforcement, the California Highway Patrol, are going to be to bring this thing to a stop, even in traffic, because when there's traffic, then all of a sudden there's a lot of civilians out there as well. That's going to be creating a different type of situation, a safety situation.
That pursuit started with a stolen vehicle that belongs to that off-duty that pursuit of that stolen vehicle started with the CHP. It belongs to that off-duty luxury stolen car that belongs to that off-duty deputy. That belongs to that deputy of that white car that has a gun inside. If that suspect started firing shots, that is going to be a big problem. It will be a big problem. Like several years ago, 8 years ago or so, this pursuit continuing on. This pursuit continuing on. The driver reached speeds at 70, 75, 80 miles per hour, cruising along, going with the flow of traffic, not going fast at high speeds at 100 miles per hour. I can tell you now, they're keeping their distance, and they're keeping the motoring public safe. They're with all these civilians around. They're not involved. And the DHP is still involved. It's going past rush hour congested traffic. This driver of that vehicle might get a little bit more aggressive.
Tried to get away using that, but you can see, is he going to try to?
And he's trying to squeeze past that car. Maybe he's contemplating with beauty of congested traffic and going around, and that a red car, sports car coupe, had to get out of the way for that suspect, because the pursuit is going by. It's like a high speed. It's gonna be like a parade race car tournament police pursuit, but it's not. This could be like a race car track this all afternoon. They're gonna kind of move over to that lane and change lanes, and the suspect will change lanes if he has to. And he's going here, the carpool lane. This is not the super fast carpool lane. Carpool lane. It's a normal carpool lane that they're doing what they can. What they can do is they hear their lights and sirens go on and off, and they're allowing this pursuit to keep going because they're not going to discontinue the chase. They're not letting the suspect go, and the traffic goes builder and builder, and it builds and builds up, and they're going to get towards the 134 freeway, and it's the what freeway they're going to take. They're going to find out. And he's taking advantage that the fact that those sirens and lights and sirens are actually clearing the path. Another highway patrol vehicle doing a little bit of swap out there is the Dodge Charger in the lead. And that was the Baldwin Park. That's going to be the Baldwin Park. It's going to be chasing them as CHP Highway Patrol, California Highway Patrol taking place. SUV dropping out, that Dodge Charger taking place.
Everybody up to date on exactly what we're watching here. Middle of your screen, you see that white four-door Lexus trying
The
to get
suspect
away.
continue tries to get away from CHP officers. That was a pursuit of that stolen car taken from the Monterey Park area. Now headed on the westbound, still on the westbound 210 freeway, has been all over the freeway, and from the 10 freeway, from the 10 to 605 and the westbound 210 freeway, gone up to 80 miles per hour on the freeway. This is really dangerous that they do believe this vehicle was stolen from the officer of the law enforcement station department. The sheriff's deputy police officer has given that person to CHP. Has given information to that person to CHP. There's a loaded gun inside that car. And the only thing is he's not using that gun, he or she. We do not know who's inside that vehicle. It's the freeway, though, got out of that whole mess. Even though they wanted to come to an end peacefully without any kind of danger, without any shots fired. They want to put out a spike strip later on during the broadcast. So they'll do a pit maneuver and spike strips later on during the course of the broadcast, a little bit later. And then they're making sure everybody is safe on the westbound 210 freeway. Law enforcement is just good guy. The bad guy believe that they're also concerned. It might not be a number one priority. It might be the priority of the general public health and safety. They do not want to see anybody getting hurt because the driver has not been reaching speeds. Thank goodness. He's on the westbound 134 freeway. There's a loaded weapon inside that vehicle, and it's a big question here. Why does this person does this even person know that he did steal a car and it had a weapon on it? And the fact the person driving the car, a stolen vehicle, and with that running from law enforcement at 80 miles per hour, nice try. He could get away at least 100 miles per hour, but I don't think he could. He wants to cruise along on the freeway, and he wants to taunt the police to come get him. He hasn't been sweeping in and out of lane changes. Lane H, moderate to high speeds, California highway patrol units behind that Lexus. That is a $35,150 sports car, luxury sports car. This is the Baldwin Park division of the CHP. Landmarks and patrol and Altadena had joined the chase. Behind it, changing a little bit different tactics, as well as that officer right there, kind of riding that center lane lights and sirens still keeps going. Traffic's pretty light. They could tell the news anchors that they're working their way out of the Pasadena area, entering into the Eagle Rock area, and then going into that county areas that it's going to go take towards onto that 134 freeway. If he keeps on going on the westbound, the 134 freeway, he's going to have a transition that's going to be coming up the 118 or the 5 freeway, or he was on the 10 freeway and the 605 freeway going on, affecting the chase. It's not going to affect the chase. The CHP doing their job, doing business to keep up with that pursuit. Their officer's weapon is inside that car. They do not know if the person is driving it with it. I think a good thing is he did not shoot at officers. Thank goodness. Still on the westbound 210 freeway, going at about 80 miles per hour. The driver has been desperate to get away ever since this has been going on for at least 20. This has been going on for about 20 or 30. This has been going on for about 20 to 30 minutes since the police started this chase. That afternoon, the driver had been going at about 75 miles an hour, basically with that map tracker over ahead, and then using cruise control, picking up speeds. The driver had continued on. He just kind of wondered that this person looking in the rear driver had been speeding up at 80 miles an hour, normal in excess. And the driver chases it many times. They got the last couple of minutes of freedom if he continues on the freeway. The driving along with these higher speeds, the freeways are a little bit. Sometimes we see vehicles going at 100 miles per hour, and then at times the pursuit continued on. The driver, there always a possibility that somebody would get hurt, and the public priority in the suspect is going to end up going farther away, and it gets farther and farther. But they're going to use a stop stick to do they're gonna use a stop stick to flatten the suspect's tires out. Now speeding up at 85, 90 miles per hour, going past all other commuters now. If he speeds up again and again, he could lose control and hits the brakes. And with the driver, it happened with an armed suspect in that red Lexus IS 2014 car of the year. You go check out that video popped up here with the 3 back-to-back chases. I appreciate it. And now 120 miles per hour, catching up now, playing games. This is what's been on ever since he started speeding up at 70, 75, 80 miles an hour, then 85 to 90, 95, 100, 120 miles per hour, and then in downtown, near Glendale downtown area, the suspect continues on, going past rush hour traffic, changing lanes, weaving in and out of traffic, and trying to lose these officers. And the suspect continues on. They're trying to lose the officers right now, making this move, zigzagging in and out of traffic, and shooting across 3 lanes. I could say that there's at least one law enforcement helicopter above. And if it continues on, notice the pursuit going at high speeds, and then at any moment it's going in there, checking in your blind spots next to you. You don't know. They don't know what's coming up, and it could happen in a matter of milliseconds. They're going to be staying on the westbound 134 freeway, away from the westbound 210 freeway, because there's a lot of congested traffic now. Getting a good clip of that. Wow, it's a Honda Accord there. While going past all other commuters, unsafe move for any of these folks driving down there. Wow, it could have ended up tragedy. It could have happened in an accident. They need to stop that suspect before he ends up killing somebody or hurting somebody. And it's a big priority to the CH. The police are very concerned about the black and white, the driving, following that car that they're trained for. They're trying to do a stop stick. He's cruising along now at 80 miles an hour, now weaving in and out of lane, driving recklessly. In the past few moments, the driver continues straight on the wrong side of the road after he was cruising along, using cruise control, then driving erratically. And I could tell you, they're watching this car from up here. If you're tuning into my live streaming, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And this suspect continues on, a performance vehicle, lightweight, and that is a luck. That is not your dad's Oldsmobile, or not their parents' Oldsmobile. That's like an Oldsmobile style with that. We don't want to see this thing lose traction and speed in and out, and we don't want this to spin out of control because of that. Near the Burbank area, we know the fact that I know for the fact that I uploaded the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme on my YouTube channel, the first YouTube channel still since 2021, and then for nearly 3 or 4, 5 years. Oh my god, this is a big problem. This is the problem. He could have lost control or killed him, he could have killed a motorist. He could have killed a motorist that was in the lane, and got out. Luckily he avoided just in time. Now here north of Hollywood, to local lake near Burbank, and the CHP trying to get behind them, trying to do a pit maneuver. Wow, it's very close calls coming up behind that car. It's been followed by CHP and PD units as well. We do know that these people are going. If they have a loved one down on the roadway, it would be very devastating when this lunatic continues to drive at high speeds, and then this suspect continues on. Most commuters go at 60, 65, 70 miles an hour, and then at about 40 miles, then they go at about 40 miles an hour, 10, 15, 20 miles. Maybe they go at about 10 or 15, 20 miles per hour. With the flow of traffic, this pursuit had been on ever since. He might be keeping the light. They're keeping the lights on. He might be changing lanes, but he's going with the flow of traffic, and he could have a choice for the 170 freeway, head down to the Hollywood, back on the freeway, but he's on the freeway right now, and then he opened that car back on the freeway. He opened that car up, was doing a bunch of lane evasive maneuvers, crazy stuff, whatever gains he does, they're right behind him. Once again, he has not lost anybody. Nobody's been hurt. Nobody got killed in that accident or get injured or rear T-boned in an accident or headbutt each other in the collision. Thank goodness. And they always worried about what they're doing. Is going to be the 134 and approaching the 170 freeway, and now he's going to take a transition. The officers are in pursuit now, and they want to. 170 northbound as well. Let's listen now.
And Stu, we see the CHP sometimes will back off and turn it into a following, not necessarily let him go away, but just to reduce the risk on the public, they'll pull back a little bit. Not this guy. They're hanging right with him.
Oh, that's for sure, and he is. He's just basically just right there behind him. We really haven't seen California Highway Patrol do that. We're just going to let it go, or we're going to switch to a tracking mode. Other law enforcement agencies, there's been a lot of policy changes just in the last couple of years, especially dealing with high-speed pursuits. California Highway Patrol, though, they train for this kind of stuff, exactly for this kind of stuff. And you can see that vehicle right now, that the California Highway Patrol officer, you can see this guy probably got a good grade in that class because he's right there behind him. That car, though, at one point probably going about 120 miles an hour as we made our way through the Glendale area. This is a stolen vehicle. Anybody that might be joining right now, stolen vehicle. It's a Lexus. But the more important than all of that is that the vehicle belongs to a law enforcement officer. It was stolen from a law enforcement officer. That law enforcement officer saying there is a weapon inside that vehicle. Now, does the person that stole that car know this? We don't know, but it adds that extra layer of danger to this whole situation. You can see that Lexus really starting to move once again. We're on the 170 northbound, North Hollywood area, coming up on the Victory area and Sherman Way, and you can see him really starting to take advantage of the fact that there's a little bit of open road between them. He's got to have noticed, though, that even though he did get...
All right, we'll get right back to Stu's pictures from Sky 9 over this vehicle pursuit. It is right now on the 170 northbound freeway. Driver in a white stolen Lexus weaving in and out of the carpool lane and just getting so close to those cars. Stu, how fast was he going?
Well, right now we're talking about 104 miles an hour northbound on the 170 freeway, North Hollywood area. Just coming up on Sherman Way right now. California Highway Patrol right behind him. This person driving very, very quickly. And, of course, you can see how quickly he's passing all those other vehicles down there. The traffic, it's moderate. That's the best way to say it, moderate. So other folks down there probably moving about 70, maybe 65, 70 miles an hour. Look how quick he's just zipping by these guys, like fence posts, going by each and every one of them. California Highway Patrol, we're staying tight on that car, but you can see they are still, well, maybe there they are. They're right behind him. I was going to say, maybe they did drop out. Right now, though, they are right behind him. They're keeping an eye on it. The lights and sirens, the farther this guy gets away from that one vehicle, look at that. It's going to make it more and more difficult for the folks out there, the general public, to hear that this is coming. You can see this car really moving along out here, weaving in and out. Whoa! And hard on the brakes right there as he basically got boxed in. These folks, they're just driving. They're not trying to block him in. They're not doing anything, but they're just driving, want to get to where they're going. And this guy coming right up behind him at high speeds. Now, lights and sirens, you can see how the California Highway Patrol got into that picture, and you see people start moving off to the right, probably hearing the lights and sirens, Sandra.
Yes, Stu, sometimes we'll see CHP go up ahead and try to move people over to the side, get them out of the way, or even slow down the traffic. But this guy's going so fast, and it's hard to tell where he's going to go. He's got the 5 option coming up as well, the 5 freeway.
Yeah, the 5 freeway, I'm looking ahead, and it looks like it's going to be pretty backed up there. If he stays on the carpool lane, he might have it'll be a little quicker on the transition, but if he gets in general traffic, it's basically backed up almost to a stop on the transition road. Northbound 170, just approaching the 5. If you guys don't know this area, it's going to be the North Hollywood Sun Valley area. Right now, though, that truck in front of him there, don't think he even has a clue what's going on behind him. He is just driving, just doing his thing, and then you got this guy in a stolen vehicle right there. A law enforcement it belongs to a law enforcement officer, was stolen from a law enforcement officer, and apparently there's a weapon inside. So even the chase part, as tense as it may be, the ending is really where it's going to play out, because there's a gun inside that vehicle. Nobody knows if that person that stole that vehicle knows about that weapon, and if he does, oh my gosh, I just hope he does not have hands on it when this thing comes to an end. California Highway Patrol right behind him. You can see there's that transition, 170 coming to an end. He's going to have to take the 5, and the 5, it's just going to get more and more backed up. If we saw some hair-raising stuff earlier on, if he decides to drive like that once again, it's going to be very nail-biting.
Yeah, the 5 freeway, the carpool lane will veer off to the left here. I think we see him taking that right now. And once he gets up ahead, they've got the merge, and it gets really backed up this time of day. So we'll keep an eye on that. Stu, you mentioned the weapon that's inside, and not just a gun, but they believe that it's loaded. At least that's the information they're getting from the owner of the car.
That's right, and it just adds that extra layer of the unknown and danger to this. Law enforcement, I'm sure that is really what's on their mind right now, is when this thing comes to an end, this person might have a loaded weapon, and that's going to create all kinds of issues. Now, the California Highway Patrol making his way right there, you can actually see him in that gore point area, and that might be because he's trying to slow some of that traffic that you were talking about. Now he's moving along again, trying to get away or just find some open spots. I can tell you, Sandra, I'm looking up ahead, there are no open spots. It's going to be very, very tight. The more north we get out here on the 5 freeway, this continuing on, Arleta is going to be the city that we're coming up on, and you can see the traffic out here, and law enforcement, they're going to have that issue when they bring this to an end. How they're going to bring it to an end, the public, the safety of the public around, it's going to be very, very tense moments.
Oh, and he's just crossing back and forth over that double line of the carpool lane. One of the issues when the drivers get in front of them and you see them hesitating to pull over, nobody wants to break that double line of the carpool lane. We all know that is a huge fine. I mean, we see people do it all the time, but when you've got a CHP in the rear view mirror, I'm sure people are hesitant to cross over that line.
That's interesting, Sandra. The way it was explained to me is that if it is a law enforcement vehicle, that you need to move over. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe somebody from our desk can Google it or make a phone call. But I was always under the impression that I understand that double line right there.
All right, pursuit right now, northbound on the 5 freeway. It's in the Arleta area. We're seeing this car going speeds up to well over 100 miles an hour. Stu Medell's overhead in Sky 9. Stu keeps crossing back and forth, cutting drivers off. It's not just dangerous for him, dangerous for the CHP, for everybody else who's out on the road.
That's right, Sandra. And if one of those guys, when he threads the needle like that, if one of the other drivers panics and sees something and basically just turns the wheel, that could bring this thing to a crashing end so quickly. Let's throw out some numbers right now as basically we're seeing this Lexus really starting to move once again. We're going about 113 miles an hour right now. Northbound 5 freeway approaching the 118, but it doesn't look like he's going to be taking that 118. Looks like we're going to be staying on now that I said it, staying on the 5, but let's get a little bit wider. He is really starting to move over. Now, he lost his option a while ago. Now, there are some off-ramps up here, but if he doesn't know the area, it really doesn't, it doesn't make any difference. Knows the area, doesn't know the area. If he gets off the freeway out here, it's going to be a total different bag of fish. Right now, though, northbound 5 freeway, just about 100 miles an hour, just breaking those triple digits. California Highway Patrol still right behind him. I don't know if they swapped out. I'm still listening on that same frequency. So it does appear that But the helicopter might be swapping out here. The law enforcement helicopter that's overhead might be swapping out here in a second. But they're not going to leave this alone. They're going to make sure that there's another helicopter here to take its spot before they do that. Northbound 5 freeway, as we're starting to make our way into the area of San Fernando, as we are making our way north down on the 5. And you can see this chase continues out here. California Highway Patrol chasing that vehicle, stolen from a law enforcement officer, and apparently a loaded weapon inside that car. We don't know if the person that stole it knows that that weapon's there.
Yeah, and that's a new danger. Look at CHP coming up. He's got the pit.
Yep. Yeah, but I was I was told not to say that, but we just saw him do a very light and very perfect pit maneuver right there, basically pushing that car off. Now it's basically facing the wall. You see the California Highway Patrol helicopter. That's what just flew through our shot right there. Now this vehicle coming to a stop, and again we were talking about there's a good possibility, or we know for a fact there's a loaded weapon inside that car. We don't know if that suspect that stole this car knows it. That's California Highway Patrol. Their dog is here on scene. You can see that canine right there, ready to go into action, but it does appear as they coming to an end with a light push there, spun the car out, pushed it up against the wall. Hands are out almost immediately. There go the keys.
All right, so the driver, he or she, we're not sure yet because of those dark tinted windows, does appear to be complying. Stu, the first thing they'll tell you is throw those keys out the window because they don't want this person to take off.
That's right. That's exactly what they want. They want to make sure that vehicle unable to move. And that's also for officer safety. That vehicle, if it starts moving around real quick, there could be some real issues. Right now, though, the keys are out. The window is down. It's coming to an end out here, northbound 5 freeway. I'm just kind of looking out the window. I just want to get where we are. We're not quite at the 405 interchange, so we're in that spot between the 118 and the 405. You can see it's come to a stop. The freeway's come to a stop as well. This might cause some traffic problems later on, but the more important thing right now is that that suspect complies and follows exactly what the officers tell him to do. If just watching right now, stolen vehicle, stolen from a law enforcement officer, and apparently there is a loaded weapon in the car. We don't know if that suspect knows about that.
All right, doors open, hands are up. We'll see how this one ends. Possibly a loaded weapon nearby. CHP taking a defensive mode. They're behind their car doors, and you can see the dog barking. He's out of the suspect is out of the vehicle. They'll ask him next to move away from the car and lay down on the road.
As they're going to want to take him into custody, and you can see it's baggy clothes right there. They're going to make sure that he doesn't have that weapon on him or possibly hidden. You can see them basically giving him directions. Lift up the shirt, take the hoodie. They might even tell him to take it off. Don't even know. Right now, this young man out here that stole this vehicle, being compliant is the best way to say it. Following the rules. You can see that dog just wants to go to work for sure. But law enforcement, he's following their rules. They're probably giving him a lot of instructions. He's doing as he's told right now. But that quick lifting up the shirt, hopefully these officers are good with the fact that they believe that he doesn't have the weapon. You can see him down there on the ground right now. This is probably coming to an end. Northbound 5 freeway, just north of the 118, just south of the 405 interchange. But the suspect not cuffed. And we also, we know that there was a driver, of course, but we don't know if anybody else was in that vehicle.
Stu, I'm just amazed by this pit maneuver. They just came up on him so quickly. It really was textbook. Managed to stop that car despite, we know he was going well over 100 miles an hour. We know he was driving erratically in some really thick traffic conditions. And it looks like he's going to be in custody very
Free iPhone 11 for California residents. If you have CalFresh, Medi-Cal, or SSI, you may qualify.
very soon. They're clearing the car.
He'll be in custody very, very soon. Just to be clear, when that pit maneuver, he was not going 100 miles an hour. At some points, he was going 100 miles an hour. There's no doubt about that. But when they actually did that pit maneuver, it was at a very safe speed. You saw it. It was almost ballet-like. Just that nice little tap. The car didn't spin around completely.
Just to sum all this up, this pursuit has been going on for nearly 45 or 50 minutes since This pursuit has been going on for nearly 50 minutes. It's been followed by CHP and a CHP motorcycle, well, at times at 100 miles per hour, driving, plus fast and furious, breaking those triple-digit speeds. Now it's been slowed down by CHP, and they did a pit maneuver. It's been faced the wall for the last 5 minutes, for the last few moments, or so, for the last few minutes. You could name it and you could call it. And the driver continued on. The driver had stopped, and the driver complied, followed directions down on the ground. Now taken into police custody. The pursuit came to an end in Sylmar northbound 5 freeway. The suspect is taken into custody. Wow, on the 210, 134, 10, 605 freeway. CHP tries to get behind him. It was a slow motion, almost killed an innocent motorist. How dare the suspect? That suspect continued on. This suspect had been on the run for nearly an hour. So there you go. There you have it. Wow, this pursuit continued on. They're searching the car. They checked. Nobody's inside that car. All lanes had been closed now, and it's gonna be reopened in the next several minutes. And we're gonna leave and. Okay, I'm done making video. I'm done with that. We've watched that already earlier. Come on. There you have it. There you go. Alright, I want to watch something with that. Something that's got to do with the police pursuit armed suspect inside that. Okay, we're gonna watch this pursuit. Started with that. We're gonna be watching that pursuit of that Lexus into that. The suspect continued on as well. So there you have it. We're gonna be watching this. This is the pursuit. This pursuit underway right now. The driver, the police chasing that suspect. This suspect continuing on southbound Alameda Street in Southgate, East LA. Thankfully, it's not entered into that LAX is restricted airspace yet. So, pursuit police units directly right behind that suspect inside that car. This suspect was seen tossing dings out from that vehicle as police were pursuing it. So it took. It might be actually the rim. You never know. You're gonna find out if the police used spike strips or not. I don't think he did. It looks a little bit wobbly. Speeds at 35 miles per hour in Broadway and Pacific Boulevard. The driver, one person inside that car, is the 2014 IS-250 from Lexus. This pursuit continuing on. The driver is not listening to the rules of the road and seems to be driving cautiously but following the rules of the road, 30 miles per hour, going past traffic, running red lights, and this pursuit continuing on. Whether or not the wheels was impacted in any shape of that from fashion from form of based on recent pursuits. We've seen that lately. We've seen that pursuit uploaded today. When it was during the course of this pursuit had been on ever since. The LAPD had been on the LAPD air unit with the police nights on overhead. My pilot keeping up with that, doing great last 2 years or so. It was August 4th, 2024. It was August 4th, 2024. Is during the course of that pursuit, doing a great job as my pilot. I'm doing a great job. I'm doing this for them as I'm pretending to be a weekend news helicopter reporter. This pursuit continuing on. This driver had been on ever since now. They have their headlights on. The driver continuing on. That driver had been on the run ever since. They'd seen that before. This pursuit continuing on. This pursuit continuing on. Slowing down at 25 miles per hour on surface avenues, surface streets with parked cars, with parked cars. Quiet time on a course of night, and this has been
it gives you an idea of
the drive.
they're trying to outrun police here, but we know that
They're trying to outrun the police as well. This driver continuing on.
cases. But Dave, are you hearing why police originally wanted to stop this car?
They really want to stop that car. That driver eventually, two things that one of them was traffic, and it progressed into that some kind of situations that the suspect has been armed. It's like some kind of armed robbery. They're not real sure that the suspects had been in real situations before being followed by police. They believe that the suspects are armed. One of them may have a weapon. When it comes to armed suspects, they're curious because when they call them in these scenarios to make a phone call to the retired police helicopter pilot from the infrared cameras overhead, where they're not necessarily backing off. They're not letting the pursuit go because they have to wonder about the safety of both people in the area. Of course, the police officers in this case, they typically approach when the suspects that the police are pursuing, they are pursuing suspects on foot. Every pursuit is so much from other agency. Every agency, when they got armed suspects that robbed the store, considered here with the options are considering is the pit maneuver. Now, normally they usually don't use pit because the armed suspect is because of the closeness of two vehicles coming together. I think they have to do a pit maneuver right now to bring this thing to an end. But not right now. We'll see that in the little bit later on in the video on my YouTube channel when I go to NBC Force LA's YouTube channel page. This is what's been going on for nearly a while now. Behind the distance, there are some pursuits that they do the tracking, but the suspect driving slow. They don't want to let the suspect get out and run from police. They don't want to let the suspect go because he's armed and because it's reportedly as possibly a stolen. It started possibly a stolen vehicle. This pursuit started about 20 to 25 minutes ago at 8 o'clock p.m. They try to stop this black Lexus. They do, though. The suspects try to possibly throw some stuff out the window. It's possibly a stolen vehicle. Before the news helicopter was overhead, we were overhead. And as I mentioned, it started about 20 to 25 minutes ago. This pursuit continued by. They've been only over it ever since. The driver, within minutes, the driver or somebody moving into that median, going around traffic, going on the wrong side of the road, going past traffic, following the pursuit, and then the other side of the road, the oncoming traffic, they don't expect this to be happening right in front of them. This is why those black and whites are important. Exactly. They've always been like this. When they mean tracking, there's sometimes when double the amount of increased speed produce significant vibrationness. The considered safety numbers one they're sticking with. The air units overhead had been pursuing this for nearly a while. They've been pursuing this. It's a Grand Theft Auto GTA suspect in the robbery, armed suspect inside that car. It's a 5-star wanted level. And now considering the speeds, it looks like the driver could see in the viewers to what I mean. As long as the guy maintains the speed, there's gonna be no reason to pull off because they're gonna keep tabs of this. Miramonte Boulevard in eastbound 66th Street, Southgate, East LA, 68th Street. And a lot of people could be out and about right now, going fast, and it's typical in these scenarios, at least on the one, and that's a good thing. Other hand, to feel like it could possibly draw this out, because when they blend in that with safety and the factory of safety within a maintain a distance close enough to pursue, perhaps execute a pit maneuver or a spike strip, that's one of the reasons we've seen. Also trying to stay within a reasonable range. They're trying to give police air units some space, because that's a good point. The thing is, they get something to stop the suspects. They know spike strip. The way this vehicle is traveling around, it's really hard to get a spike strip in there. Plus, it would be for the officers to get out if he doesn't really want. If they don't want to do that. We might let you listen now.
It's just, why can't we block the vehicle in? Why don't we block the road? Anything like that. And even though it's not outlawed with the LAPD pursuit policy, but it does say that we don't strongly discourage. And so, and with this right now, it's a warm night. Even though luckily we don't see that many pedestrians out there. I don't see people walking on the street or crossing the crosswalk, anything like that. So fortunately, exactly, we have that in our favor. But the primary responsibility here is citizen/officer safety. And I think looks like he's starting to pick up speed.
Yeah, he continues to. Right now. Yeah, he continues, Dave, to blow through these intersections, and that alone is dangerous, even at this slow rate of speed, just because, it is a Sunday night, people trying to get home at this point. Although we haven't seen many pedestrians here, I did see a few moments ago there were people on some of those scooters, motorized scooters there, some people walking, so that, of course, is always a concern. You see, that was a red light, just blew through that intersection there. There's someone on a bicycle riding along that sidewalk, and you just worry about all those factors. As you know, those sergeants who are calling these pursuits, they're worried about that as well, or they take that into account here. I'm hearing that we may be headed towards the LAX airspace, so that may be difficult for our helicopter here, but that won't be the case for LAPD, correct, Dave?
Yeah, that's correct. They got a policy now where some of our ships, the TV news helicopters, will stay clear of LAX airspace during a pursuit, of course. But LAPD, sheriffs, they can go in and they can work at low level. And a lot of people think, well, you can get away from that. But no, I mean, it's very rare that happens.
Look, there's people walking in that intersection there. This is what exactly, sorry to cut you off there, Dave, but that's what you were talking about earlier. It's getting more crowded as we are in the Firestone Beach Street area of Southgate, East Los Angeles there, as this person is just continuing to lead this pursuit, lead officers on a pursuit there, and that's when it truly gets dangerous. But you were mentioning that LAPD will be able to keep up with this vehicle.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why they went ahead and they're just going to hold back right now. They may be trying to get some information, more information on the suspect or suspects. I'm not real sure how many we have inside that vehicle. But the one thing we always have to worry about, too, is that if we get up close, if we get, let's say we do decide that we might go ahead and pit this vehicle, that suspect going to have weapons may come out and just start shooting at the officers, and that there is exactly what we're trying to stop. Or it's any additional danger to the public.
Before I ask you my next question here, Dave, I just want to give a quick recap, just in case anybody might be joining us here as we hit the 8:30 mark. At this half hour, we kind of keeping an eye on this car right now. It's slowing down a bit, but there it goes, going through another intersection with some decent traffic here. We'll maintain an eye on that, but So far, we know that this was reported possibly as a stolen vehicle. Started around 8 o'clock this evening, so a half hour ago. It's a black Lexus that we are keeping an eye on. Dave also mentioned that these are armed suspects or possibly armed suspects, so that's something that we're keeping an eye on right now, and it could have progressed to an armed robbery. But again, we're working to confirm these details and this information as this pursuit is still very active at the moment. And to Leslie's point from a couple minutes ago, we know that we are possibly nearing LAX airspace, so if there's a possibility that our chopper might have to move out of the area, we'll reset and keep you posted, because of course LAPD cruisers are still very much in line with this vehicle, with this vehicle in pursuit right now as it picks up speed, exceeding a little bit over 50 miles an hour there just ever so briefly. So Dave, that brings me to my next point, which is I'm curious about the sort of mindset, or at least the officer's mindset of what could be going on with these suspects. Is there a belief that they are just sort of trying to run out the clock, though obviously that is incredibly difficult when you have a chopper overhead and multiple cruisers in pursuit, or is this a matter of they're perhaps looking for an avenue to get on the freeway or anything like that? I'm curious as to what the LAPD's perspective is from here in terms of what they're thinking the suspects might be thinking. Does that make sense?
Slowing down.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, sure, Jill. And what I'm thinking is, having been in the pursuits before, you just want to just stay on the suspect. You want to stay as close as possible. And what you're alluding to is sometimes that we call it, looking for a friendly neighborhood that they're familiar with and stuff. But not this case. It's a suspect that just keeps driving in a straight line. Maybe he'll make a couple of right turns, but he doesn't seem to be sticking to any particular area. And like we had said, he's heading towards LAX, and for some reason people think that once we get into LAX airspace, it's banned. We can't get in there, but the police helicopters, law enforcement helicopters can, so they'll just stay on as much as they can. And then also we do work with LAX police that are a different unit, different department, but we do work with them also. Yeah. So it's eventually they'll get these suspects in custody.
Yeah.
But, it is kind of curious how slow it's going.
Yeah, he definitely is going slow speeds here, not following the rules of the road, as we continue to watch him just drive through intersections where he's supposed to stop there, but he is leading police on this pursuit here. It is interesting, though, how slow this vehicle is going. Again, we're watching him, or I should say the suspect. We don't know if it's him or her just yet, but he or she there. But you're watching this vehicle just, again, blow through another intersection here. But we were hearing earlier that the suspect possibly threw something out of the vehicle near Slauson and Florence. I have to wonder what that was. A weapon is many times what we see suspects throw out of the vehicle. Did you hear anything about that, Dave?
No, I haven't. And I was trying to contact some of the people up at Air Support just to see if they could relay anything on that. But no, and I've been over pursuits, flying over pursuits before where I've seen money thrown out, weapons thrown out. So not anything out of the ordinary, especially in a case like this. But and like I mentioned before, every pursuit's different. This is really strange. I mean, with the significance of this type of pursuit, and these suspects aren't speeding away, which is great. I mean, I'm happy about that. But like you had said, Leslie, they're blowing through intersections. They're going through. We see pedestrians and crosswalks. They had to stop so they didn't get hit by this individual.
Yeah. Blowing through intersections, but at a very slow rate of speed there. What is also interesting about this so far, Dave and Gio, is that this driver, this suspect, continues to stay in the same area on surface streets here. This person has had a chance to possibly make their way to a freeway here. It looks like, I'm not sure what they're looking at there. Right, looks like we can see a light shining from inside the vehicle.
Like either a screen or something else. It really is devolving into what almost feels like a bit of a war of attrition, given the speed at which the vehicle's going, the sort of steady pursuit by LAPD cruisers right behind. Keeping an eye on it here, it's getting a little dark, but otherwise, to Dave and Leslie, to your point as well, it's a good thing that we haven't seen that many people out on sidewalks, roads, and anywhere where there could be potential danger, because typically in pursuits like this, you would have cars flying at 60 plus miles an hour, but right now it's been, I would say on average, anywhere between 30 to 40, and just kind of that weird balance of not following the rules of the road, but also not doing anything overly egregious when it comes to the driving aspect of this pursuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. But every pursuit is continually monitored by the supervision. They'll monitor and evaluate what's going on, the dangers or the risk outweigh the need to continue the pursuit. And when it comes right down to it, it comes down to, is it an immediate risk to the public? Okay. Obviously, this is. That's why I believe that they're staying with it. They're not going to. They haven't decided to track it. So I think that's what's going on right now. So it's like a waiting game here.
And we talked about this before, Dave. This suspect has been sticking to pretty much the same area, and many times that's because they know the area, right? They're sticking to what they know. How often do you see that?
Quite often. Now, we've had them on the freeways where they take off, and we've actually seen go off to Illinois, do a 180 and come back, westbound on the west side back to their neighborhood. And so this suspect here is sticking to the main streets. Did hit some small ones, but when they start venturing off and start hitting the little streets, maybe alleys and stuff, that's when you think, okay, let's get ready, because they're gonna get out of that thing and they're gonna run. And then we possibly may have officers of foot pursuit. Every unit will broadcast the description, the direction of the suspect, if they see anything in their hands, anything of that nature.
And that's almost what it feels like. Like this person is getting ready to stop at any moment, just because of how slow the vehicle is going and has been going. But it hasn't been the case just yet. We've seen this car hover around 30 to 40 miles per hour, sometimes even slower there. Of course, going through intersections without caring if other vehicles are maneuvering in front of it. But at this point, we have seen the driver somewhat stop for pedestrians,
avoid traffic,
really go slow through these intersections. So you wonder, why continue this pursuit? At some point it definitely leaves the viewer always wondering, why not just pull over?
Absolutely.
Yes, and I understand that, and I do get that quite a bit, actually. And it comes right down to, if we were to allow suspects to commit crimes, and then at one point we say, okay, that's it, and we do that. But when we pull off, there's always, we're still monitoring the suspect's location and actions. That's trying to de-escalate the situation. But this is totally different, because this suspect, it's a GTA suspect, possible weapons involved. So this has gone up as far as priorities. But no, I do understand when people ask me, they pull off and we can just get later. So, well, there's a significance to that, and that is safety when it comes to the citizens. And so that's why now they're staying with it. But I'll mention it right on there, the sirens going, and it's warning people up ahead.
Yeah, you see someone with a stroller on the sidewalk there.
Yeah. The other point, in case anyone is just now tuning in, there's you see one, then you see two cruisers there. That we've counted 5 so far as we zoom completely out. There's 3, there's 4, and then a 5th one was tailing just behind. So it's a significant response to what is going on right now. But it also goes back to Dave, to your earlier point about the fact that you're sort of hanging around the same area, an area perhaps this suspect is familiar with, potentially waiting for an opportunity to just stop the car and fly out. We've seen that before, in fact, where a suspect vehicle just pulled off into a neighborhood and then ran behind folks' backyards.
Or ran into a home that they knew.
Exactly, ran into a home they knew, or a complex, a building complex, or perhaps made it easier, and then that's when a perimeter was set up. That ultimately then I almost want to go back to an earlier point you said and just sort of reiterate it or ask you again, which is to say, with this many vehicles in pursuit, I think a natural question that perhaps a viewer could have is, why not have one of the cruiser vehicles in the back, maybe number 3, 4, or 5, try to start inching ahead or try and box the suspect's vehicle in, either with that spike strip or a pit maneuver, something like that? Is it just a different procedure, just sort of a wait-and-see approach right now, or is it something else?
It would be normally up to the incident commander. And you can see all the vehicles, all the black and whites involved in this. Now, in a textbook pursuit, you have 3 vehicles, 3 black and whites. You have the primary, the secondary, and then the third would be a supervisor. Now, depending on the nature of the crime, the ranking officer in the pursuit, in the primary pursuit vehicle, or the supervisor, which is now the incident commander in a pursuit, can request additional units. If you have multi-suspects and they may all be armed, then yeah, sure, you could get on there. Because sometimes they'll say, okay, hey, keep the primary, secondary, and the supervisor in the pursuit, everybody else, parallel the pursuit. But in this case, it looks like they said, hey, we need additional units on this because of the situation.
Yeah, and it looked like for a moment there, it would have been not right here, because now it's crowded, you see a bus, and there was also a taco stand, a taqueria just on the sidewalk there. But for a moment there, it looked like it would have been a perfect moment to do a pit maneuver. I know you're a few seconds behind us here, Dave. Do you think they will try to engage the suspect that way, or will they continue to ride this out? By now, I feel like most of the time we do see at least spike strips used.
Because of the type of crime, the suspect's weapon, and then the exposure of the officer that has to throw the spike strip out there. So that's why they may hold off on that. But, every department's different. I've seen the sheriffs before with multi-suspects, weapons involved, and they actually pitted, but it was on a freeway, and they stopped the traffic. It was totally clear. With this here, it's like we had mentioned earlier, so Sunday evening people are out. I'm looking at the pursuit, and now we're starting to hit small streets, so they may be thinking about
small streets and almost slowing down here for a second, David. It looks like a vehicle's just avoiding some more traffic. It was one of those narrow, more residential streets with cars parked on both sides of the road, and that's really what slowed down the suspect, allowed that first cruiser to get very up close to the back of the vehicle.
That are stopped and the traffic light. Hello.
We've been looking at for about the last 20 plus minutes or so, and this right here is a perfect moment. And I know, Dave, you're a few seconds behind. It sort of encapsulates what's been the cycle of this pursuit so far, which has been a cycle of the pursuit so far.
Nothing stops the suspect. They've been following this pursuit for the last 20 minutes. They've been following overhead for the last 20 minutes or so. Since the police started this chase, this has been on all surface streets, going around traffic almost 50 miles an hour on surface streets. And at some point, the driver speeding up at 43 miles per hour. And then they are believed to have a weapon. It's with a gun. And traffic stopped 2 times because of that pursuit. Next time, the LAPD needs to hold traffic to make sure that they don't get involved. The traffic stops itself when there's a pursuit going by, and then at 30 miles an hour, throwing an object out of the window, now going into the driveway. We've seen that pedestrian walking slow underneath that train tunnel as they get closer and closer to that LAX's airspace. We're not quite there yet because the LAPD helicopter could be on it as well. And I've heard that the TV news helicopters and the police air units of the LAPD couldn't get on top of this because the LAPD was on top of that LAX's airspace, which is believed the LAX's air unit police helicopter that are in charge of the pursuit. And I know the TV news helicopters being professional at their own jobs, and we know that the police had authority and to contend with them. The pursuit continued to by, and they 7 LAPD units behind that 2016 black Lexus IS250 all-wheel drive sports car, $35,150 with that. And then got close to 50 miles per hour, slowed it down at 40 miles per hour, and then going around traffic, turned left, long line of police units that were behind that car, and I could say this pursuit continues by. And if he wanted to if he's wanting to lead police on a high-speed chase, they could go ahead and make that circular motion.
Narrow, more residential streets, cars parked on both sides. It limits the range of motion, obviously.
And then what they've mentioned, obviously,
Tighter situations, quite literally, because now you have even more
and you have police
variables introduced.
that are following them, and now that there's a pursuit going by, this pursuit continuing on, and I understand this pursuit. And the suspect gonna hit someone. This suspect stopped for a nearly short period of time, continuing here on out. And I could tell you, as they mentioned earlier, the wait, and they want to see the approach. The LAPD units in pursuit. They're trying to get behind the possibly armed suspects, robbery suspects that we've seen, and this all sort of slowed any potential pit maneuver, any potential spike strip, any more aggressive action toward these suspects that held off by the fact that they could be armed. Is that what they're doing? That they could be armed is correct, because the one of the black and whites, when the suspect made a right turn, it was black and white. And when they evented the suspect stopped and take off on foot. The air units can go ahead and set up a perimeter, and they would block these suspects. And now going around the gas station, going in and making their way into a gas station. Slowing down at this point, waiting to see if they will be going back into that street, going back on the street into surface streets, and then traffic stops now. And you see that those type of security measures for that, it was, and how would there's a police pursuit when there's a police pursuit during the 2024 Tokyo Olympics? No, 2024 Paris Olympics, during a police pursuit being interrupted by that when they had a 1998 Nagano USA Winter Olympics on CBS that happened a long time ago. I could tell you that. When you can see and now you see the driver went into that gas station, did a roundabout. They did a winter opening and closing ceremonies and the Olympic events on CBS. It was February of 1998, and now they just won, and now this came to an end. They moved on to 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, 2006 Torino U.S. Olympics. 20 years ago in February of 2006. This was now going around construction codes. This was the opening ceremony and closing ceremonies of the logo of that person skating. That was a cheering on as well. Like we had that before during the course of this. When I should say this pursuit continuing by another alleyway as the suspect continues on. I know the driver continues on. They're not seeing LAPD. Right behind them is the airship that's following overhead, and that person is not getting away. I can tell you that right now. Ouch. As on the roads now, they have light street traffic, and now the suspect continuing on. In the last 30 or 40, it's been going on for about 30 to 35 to 40 minutes now since the police started this chase, an hour-long pursuit being broadcast. Within the last half hour or so, we've seen speed bumps, alleyways. We've seen surface streets, slow speeds in the last 45 or 50 minutes. This pursuit continuing by, going over the train tracks, slowing down. It's been followed by LAPD. They're still going at this point, and it's wonder to really when they know when it'll end. And on the other side is a reflection of reality when you saw an ambulance fire truck on the other end when the officer gets shot, for an example, and then takes off on foot, and then without their tires being flat, and then goes in their minivan and their truck, the pickup truck, 70 miles an hour, and then at 52 miles and 30, 40, 50 miles an hour on surface streets, not driving erratically, not caring to even see what their weight of the reflection of a shots fired police pursuit that they had in Anaheim is the Orange County Anaheim PD was refusing help from CHP, and then it was April 16th, 2025, crossed underneath the 91 freeway, and then head towards the Disneyland TFR temporary flight restriction, Disneyland protective airspace, and given the fact that there's a large median, they can't just hop on over and quickly as they approach the hour mark, and then gets onto the 57 freeway, 91 freeway, and then goes underneath the 5 freeway. Broken record, back and forth so many times in State College, and then all of that, avoiding spike strips when the CHP officer tries to set it up, but continued on, cut off innocent bystanders, one on the wrong side of the road, and then that person has been told to buy a lotto ticket for $120 million. Wow, to play one today, go have a ball. And I do agree with that. If you please agree with that, please comment down below. And type of escape plan is not going to work. Tell me if you enjoy watching this pursuit. Comment down below on my YouTube channel. I appreciate you all for tuning in to my live streaming on my YouTube channel, and it's pretty obvious it's going to continue. They could throw this out and then go on for one more ride of freedom, and I could utilizing a drone over the pursuit of that police activity, and then they will be spending time 6 to 7 to 8 hours in jail with robbery, and then they serve several years in prison with suspects right now in that black Lexus that they are believed to be armed and dangerous. They do want to get that out there because it's a very bad situation and end game for people at home, parked cars, and for my camera crew and the pilot and the pilot who is doing a great job keeping track of this pursuit. We've been following it now for nearly an hour. And they're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Not that much more. I think at most we had 7. At most we had 5. Now we're seeing 7 LAPD cruisers.
7 LAPD units behind that. Behind that car, and we might notice us, and they do know, as my pilot and the camera crew and the photographer, journalist doing a great job. I'm doing a great job as well, keeping track of this pursuit. We've been following it now following up here in the news helicopter that we've been following overhead, up here in the news helicopter for nearly an hour and a half since the police started this chase. Their perspective is when they're circled over the last hour. We've seen that established with the potential danger of armed suspects inside that car. Tighten up this census in the perimeter. X amount of cruisers, a chopper overhead. They've been following overhead. They're trying to follow at a safe distance, and the driver has not been aggressively driving at high speeds. The Metro bus stop, and you see a collision, you stop. There's a pursuit going by, you stop right now, because this is the pursuit going by. They have to stop, and it's strongly discourageable when the pursuit policy, they don't want to discontinue the chase. Now they want to, setting up a spike strip did not work, I could tell you that. and I wouldn't. It did not happen. Tires. He's protective over the four-wheel tires of the four-wheel drive of that luxury sports car. Strongly seems to discourage. Pretty much tells them goes wrong with the officers. They could get in trouble, and they think they could go ahead and get a good look. And we're getting a good look at that driver, and they're hearing we're hearing from our assignment desk is there's a male suspect inside that car. They were able to kind of make out just a moment or two ago, just a few moments ago. And the dark windows had been tinted of that dark windows this whole entire time. They were not able to do it. Stop sticks had been unsuccessful. They had been staged there for a while, and then they cannot see exactly to make out. Perhaps to their point about stop sticks, one of those more narrow alleyways, it's obviously hard to tell when they will use one of those stop sticks again. But it certainly provided the best for their opportunity, and what's best for them is the construction was only one direction when they saw what happened earlier today, and the second direction and 2 and 1 for reflections of their weight. They could speak, so to speak, on what's making this pursuit go on an hour-long chase. It's so would say difficult for these officers. Really, for the driver, it's not that predictable. Then this person continues on the turn, and when they want to see, and when they're gonna keep on going. The first time they're seeing them kind of go straight for a while. This pursuit continuing by, slowing down at about 25 miles per hour. It's hard for them to set up a spike strip. You see that scooter? He should have stayed in the sidewalk, but not involved in that. But not involved of that police pursuit is the scooter motorcyclist. Not involved with that. Not involved in this pursuit, in the police pursuit right now. But all they can turning left. All they can do now is to keep going and keep chasing this suspect, these armed suspects, until this car runs out of gas. Still at 40 miles an hour, they're just driving around because this is the suspect here constantly. There he goes again. But not driving fast, obeying traffic laws, going over the yellow lanes, and going down the street. This is right now what they see the highest rate of speed, like vehicles approaching 50 miles an hour, then pulling over those bystanders, avoiding traffic people on the sidewalk, and how to constrict the area. Went around the construction zone just a few minutes ago, and more people out there they did not see initially. When they see a lot of more, they go into a particular part of the neighborhood. This driver continues at slower speeds. Just minutes later, this pursuit in crest side of the suspect, cruisers in pursuit of that armed suspects, and going back to straddling that line like he did just a minute ago, and then it's the exact same turns within the same area. What then caught in this weird act, repetitive loop, repeating over and over, back and forth. How about he just takes the freeway and go on a high speed in this black luxury sports car, since he wants to drive slow, since he drove at almost 50 miles per hour, and that you see they'll go on ahead and stop, take off running, then just do exactly what they all apply. This is another one. Spike strips. Oh my God, stop by traffic. Not again. Seriously, they're able to deploy that spike strip. This is the second time they've watched them try to deploy a spike strip. We've been doing this for nearly an hour and 18 minutes and 5 seconds. We've been doing that for nearly an hour and a half and 18 minutes. Since we did our live streaming, we started doing the live streaming, and at one point we did the police pursuit of that Lexus white 2014 Lexus IS 250 They did a pit maneuver at times at 120 miles per hour earlier this evening. This pursuit has been going on for about 55, 60 minutes to an hour now since the police started this chase. It started in 47th and Main. Bystanders taking pictures of the police pursuit, then egging them on. Egging them on. Female fat lady woman agitated while picking up speeds at 45 miles per hour. Now look at this. And then trying to get away from those bystanders. And this pursuit would be ending, then instead moving to another person. Few feet. They have no business being involved. Trying to lend a helping hand. And they want to pretend to be independent journalists. This is what's been on ever since. And then we see, like, we had bystanders in that police pursuit when there was a final approach for that LAX's and Hawthorne airspace for the landing traffic to come through. It happened on October 29th, 2025. This was a carjacking pursuit, 2 carjacking pursuits that entered into the LAX's restricted airspace. Bystanders helping the police out. Then at one point, and then continuing on, I apologize for that dot marks. Continuing on, then interfering with LAPD, and then trying to be involved like a hour-long tense standoff ICE and Free Palestine protest. Because this is what's been on, and it's been ever since. The car had been parked and abandoned. They chose to run and fled from LAPD, and it's been going on for nearly an hour or so. And they do have the retired LAPD pilot on the phone who has been helping them navigate this pursuit for the last half an hour since we started doing this live streaming for the last half hour and 20 minutes or so. Since we did our live streaming, this is what they have to, the case yelling at the vehicle, they have to wonder if they knew each other. Right, many times these suspects, if there were bystanders involved, like we had that live streaming before of that stolen Toyota Corolla beat up car. Before, we seen that during the course of this pursuit, then continued on over and over again. This pursuit continued by. I can tell you, this is an hour-long chase that started this, and then this driver had been on the run from police. This is what's been on. I can tell you right now, it's been ever since. Avoiding stop sticks, police chase been on, then continued. If anybody's watching it live, tune into our live streaming police pursuit. Tune into our live. Thank you for tuning in to my live streaming. I appreciate it. Tune in on Friday for a special police pursuit that happened today with a break-in suspect inside that Chevy Malibu. Wow, that's similarities between those two suspects in the last hour or so. It's been tight of that portion ever since. And then also, when they have seen this like this, the person is going in a circle for our viewers at home and watching it that are watching it on their own cell phones on my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it, because this is an East LA that's been happening more in the location of Southgate and Huntington Park, right there on Southern Avenue, Southgate, East LA. And as their suspect make their way down more residential streets, coming to a complete stop, there you see them continuing on. It looks like another neighborhood there. It's pretty dark in the area, which is also definitely trying to get away from the police, but not going to happen. I'm sorry. Walking at that park, very busy park, as they saw people out on the road in the tennis court. It's like Hood and Saturn Avenue. People out there enjoying their summer vacation and their summer breaks. They had a couple days left before this pursuit, before this is like a summer vacation pursuit and happening all of the events in Southern California for the police pursuit. Unacceptable. Stopping, letting those traffic to go through, and as the suspect continues on, turning right. Most of this pursuit took place, something we want to draw attention because we've noticed at least twice so far going into gas stations, public place, and all of this, public places, all of this, main road, they could continue to maintain it.
Given what is typical in police pursuits such as this, right now is about the fastest we've seen this suspect go, close to 50 miles an hour before inevitably slowing down and then making their turns and continuing this motion of traveling through this neighborhood.
Dave, earlier you were telling us that this person we know is possibly armed, but you were also hearing that they may have also been involved with some sort of armed robbery here, is what you were hearing as they continue to drive on the opposite side of the roadway here.
Yes, and I'm still trying to get that verified, but as far as the GTA, I'm not sure how that weapon was used. I don't want to say anything that's incorrect, but that's what I've been told, and I'm trying to get it verified, and they just haven't gotten back to me yet. But they're just going to go ahead and just keep following this suspect here. I agree. I mean, I think he is just doing like we've seen in other pursuits. They just buy time. As you had mentioned, Lusty, it's a spectacle. There's all the neighborhoods out now. They hear the helicopter, the black and white, the sirens, and so they come out and see what's going on. So luckily, I haven't seen that many people, and hopefully he stays off those little streets. But when he decides it's over, I think that's probably what's going to happen. He'll hit a little street. I don't know if they'll run.
Yeah, we don't really know how any of these are going to play out. They never play out as we predict. But what is interesting, Dave, is that we're noticing LAPD now giving this suspect a lot more space than we have seen within the last hour here. For moments there, that cruiser was right on the tail, right on the bumper of that vehicle. Now they look to have pulled back several feet.
And police also turned off the light on their helicopter as well. So what does that say about the state of this pursuit right now to you, Dave, and what the approach, if it's changed at all so far?
They're just trying another one of the tools out of the pursuit bag, and that's just trying to de-escalate the situation, trying to get him to where maybe he'll go ahead and stop going on the wrong side of the road. But I think that's it's always the incident commander, whether it be the supervisor on scene in that third vehicle or the watch commander back in the station.
Mm-hmm.
But it's responsible. They're responsible for the management and control of the pursuit, and also the post-incident management.
Yeah.
So at some point, they're all talking, and they're they say, okay, hey, we've tried everything. Let's try this. He hasn't accelerated, so let's go ahead and let's pull back. Let's get the light off the suspect and see if we can de-escalate it. See if we can get this suspect to calm down and start thinking about, hey, it's over.
Well, we can tell you that it doesn't seem like LAPD is giving up, because I don't know if you noticed this, Dave, but they tried to once again roll out that spike strip in the middle of an intersection there, but the driver here was able to avoid it once again. So again, it was unsuccessful. That is now the third time.
Yes, third time that we've seen so far.
Third time they tried to deploy those spike strips, and it was not successful. How difficult is it to get in that right position, and how dangerous is it for these officers?
It's extremely dangerous for those officers. CHP officer was hit when he was deploying one. This is a long time ago. But I mean, it has happened. Thank God it doesn't happen that much. It's only one time that I know of. But yes, it's extremely dangerous. And then incorporate the gun, the intensity of the pursuit, how sometimes he speeds up and he slows down. So that's why I'm kind of surprised that that officer was out there in plain view. But I guess they got to the point where they decided, hey, we got to do something. We got to try something. So the little streets, we see he's in and out of a whole bunch of them. So I'm not really sure how you would work that other than just hope he comes down that street and have somebody stand by at the ready.
And after a third try, it certainly seems like they would try again, assuming this driver starts pivoting back toward the areas that we've seen him pivot back to so far this evening, or going on a little bit more than an hour and 10 minutes so far since this pursuit started, but it still remains the same. This, I would say, is probably the most residential area we've seen so far, the most homes we've seen, given this pursuit, but still along the edges, driving through, avoiding traffic, construction areas as well is something we've seen. And look, it's almost like a dead end here.
Yeah, it looked like that road was closed, right?
But still finding a way to just make another turn and continue on driving, but no indication whatsoever of trying to jump on the freeway. But it looks like we're hearing another unsuccessful spike attempt. Is that correct? The video on the right side of your screen is what we were mentioning, is that that unsuccessful spike strip attempt. We're looking at 3 times so far this evening where that's happened. We'll wait and see. Presumably that would try to happen again, but again, it determines on the situation where exactly the suspect's vehicle ends up, because this has been going on for a while now and still doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. We'll see.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be coming to a stop. I feel like they've been going pretty slow this entire time. We've seen them make their way through parking lots, through crowded gas stations. We've seen a civilian drone fly overhead, which is very dangerous for those helicopter crews, the LAPD helicopter crews there. And we're watching this person continue to make their way through another construction area. And at this point, they'll continue on here in this very industrial area. This is the first time we've seen them in a very, I would say, desolate area. It doesn't have many people here. You wonder if LAPD is going to try a pit, but now they're on a much busier street. So it doesn't look like that would be the case.
That's essentially what it's been leading to, is using those abandoned areas, the construction zones, the narrow alleyways, the residential streets, to just find a way back onto the main streets, and that's when we see
what they know best.
The main traffic and everything else just sort of waiting on the clock, so to speak. But Dave, as you mentioned before, there's no clock to wait out here. It's really just buying more time until we all know where this is going to end. It's just hoping for the best when it comes to safety, because we've seen a lot of near misses when it comes to people.
Yeah, just you probably noticed this once again. The car swerved there, and our producer telling us they just avoided another spike strip. So that is the 4th spike strip attempt, and unfortunately, officers have not been successful in any of these attempts, which is not a rare case here. But Dave, are you surprised that none have been successful, given just how slow this vehicle has been traveling this entire time?
They're trying on huge intersections, so there's a lot of room for him to maneuver and go around them. And like I mentioned before, it would be really hard. I mean, I'm not sure. You could just deploy some units in the side street, blacked out, and then stand in the corner and just hope he comes down. But that's about the only other thing I could think of. I did see one black and white. Been told that they do have one black and white that's trailing him with lights and sirens.
Okay.
He's back a ways.
Okay, so they're still following him. This person there on the ground. But interesting to know. I want to go back to the spike strip. Many people may not be aware. The spike strip is what, about a car's length long?
Yes.
Dave. So you have to be very precise when deploying that.
Yes. It's you have to get out. You throw it out there. It has a lanyard on it. So when you fling it out there, the suspect will run over it, and then the officer that has it deployed has that lanyard in his hand, and he'll just yank it back. This way, the black and white's going over it. And the spike strip's not one that'll just rip a tire open. What it does is it has tubes. they enter the suspect's tires, and it lets the air out slowly. It starts coming out. That way it averts any type of collision, where if they all of a sudden they're out of control, they slam into another vehicle, it slows them down. That's what the intent is.
But at that point, it becomes a situation where Dave, then you have that clock, right? Where if you've executed properly a spike strip, now we have X amount of time before that car is coming to a stop, and therefore we can close in.
Well, I would say yes, but I've seen pursuits where they lost the rubber, then they lost the rim, and the vehicle was actually on the drum, and it was still being pursued.
Yeah.
So, I would like to say yes.
Oh, Dave, the suspect's getting out of the vehicle there. It looks like there's a car backing up. He is running to this white car, getting in the back, and taking off. He's been talking to this person. You can imagine, possibly, because now this person is fleeing from officers.
Yep.
You wonder, when was he planning this?
And now we've exceeded a speed here too, because this is the fastest we've seen, and now it's really picking up. This is the fastest we've seen this entire pursuit, as now we turn a new page into what could be at the middle of this accomplishment. And now we have new questions as to when this was planned, how it was planned, and perhaps they've gone in a familiar area, making calls or trying to see what's going on. Now we're in a new pursuit in a new vehicle.
With a new suspect.
Yes. Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, he was on the phone, so he was talking to some of his friends and just said, hey, I need to get out of here, can you help me out? And so they had planned all of this, and so that's possibly why he was sticking around that area. But now this is a whole new thing here, so now we got two suspects in that.
You have
this is a felony, of course.
Yeah, you at least have two suspects here. Either you have the driver that is now leading police on this pursuit in this white vehicle, and now this has become a very dangerous pursuit here, Dave. This car reaching 70 miles per hour on these residential roadways. There's a suspect, as you see here, this happened moments ago, the suspect getting out of his vehicle, getting into this white car, and the white car just jets off, books it down the street. And this is where we're at here in southeast Los Angeles and Compton and Vernon, with at least now two suspects that police are pursuing. The original suspect that we know is sitting in the back seat, that we believe was armed, and now the new driver, whoever it was that was driving this white car, and is now leading police on a very dangerous pursuit through Central City.
After what started this stealing a vehicle there, it totally changed the dynamic of this now, because we went from having a pursuit that was located in just that Huntington Park, Southgate area, to now we're moving out of that and speeding at an exorbitant rate at this point, because now that danger we've been talking about for the last hour and 18 minutes, now it's even more heightened, given that there are more people, more cars about, and we've really heightened everything at this point, changing the entire dynamic of this pursuit, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, and now this suspect here is just speeding along. Some of those black and whites that we were talking about that were in the initial pursuit, there's no doubt that a few of them deployed on that vehicle that he abandoned, because we don't know if there's a victim in there. We have no idea, so they're checking that out. So they're relaying that to the pursuit vehicles, the black and whites, that are now in high speed.
Sports car.
Pursuit now this additional felony suspect.
Okay, we're watching this driver on the wrong side of the road here.
I hate to tell you this. This is a suspect that ditched the car after driving slow on the run from the police, exceeded the speed at full force at 70 miles per hour. At least two suspects inside that white Lexus 2014 car. It was 2014 luxury sports car, white Lexus IS250, all-wheel drive. As Dangs entered, as it entered into that LAX's restricted airspace, they're going to keep our eyes as much as possible heading back towards this location. Earlier, he sped up on the phone with somebody, ditched the car, and then at some point the driver had speeded up. In fact, it became dangerous with emergency services right now doing their jobs on top of LAPD. I know in pursuit, they're in charge, picking up the pursuit of that vehicle, at least on the northbound 110 freeway, reaching speeds at 120 miles per hour, and he's speeding up. The CHP is advising this. It's their responsibility to stay with this. LAPD and CHP, if they want to be involved, they could be involved. But this is a pursuit continuing on as they're working their way out of the restricted LAX's airspace. And I know they've all been trained under the state, and then working the same sheet of music, and they want to pull off. They got black and whites behind that, so they're going ahead and take over. This is going to happen. With this situation, LAPD had enough chasing this, but it's going to be CHP whether or not they're going to get involved, whether or not, but they're working their way out of the LAX's airspace. The LAPD crews are trying to keep up with this pursuit. Now headed towards the downtown area, traffic normally starts to back up. Because of that Sunday night, because it's heading towards downtown, and they're alerting other drivers. This is a dangerous person. Please get out of the way. They're making their weird, evasive, sudden maneuvers around 90 miles per hour, avoiding loads of cars. This is Pasadena, downtown Hollywood, as they're heading towards downtown LA, northbound 110 freeway. Exactly who the person is driving, exactly what they saw the suspect in the initial black vehicle get out in the parking lot and jump into this white vehicle, continuing on, hitting the brakes incredibly fast. Right now, avoiding traffic, hitting the brakes, trying to move out, weaving in and out, and we're trying to get on top of this due to that downtown buildings. I know for the fact that I understand things that's gonna enter into, because there's a lot of buildings in the downtown LA area, crossing underneath, going past the downtown, continuing at a good point and good clip at speeds. They don't know anything about the person currently driving this white vehicle. We're gonna find out later. No, we're gonna find out tomorrow. But it's getting late as we wrap up the video. Stay tuned for that part 2 live streaming that's coming up tomorrow after school, tomorrow afternoon on my YouTube channel. So you don't want to miss this. You'll be there, okay? I promise you. Stay tuned, okay? And now on the 101 freeway from the 110 freeway, they've been going 90 miles per hour. They're now on the freeway. They would consider a very different suspect, but obviously trying to get away, but not trying to get away from LAPD officer, and CHP and LAPD now involved in this pursuit as well. When we saw that CHP squad car, 2 pursuits, married to and linked to each other, as they're married. If I was married to a spouse, I would be married, but I'm still single. I would find a lesbian boyfriend or girlfriend at my own age if I have to, and I would introduce them to my YouTube channel. But not getting off that shoulder. Southbound. Okay, I'm gonna take a very deep breath. Southbound 101 freeway. Now headed back down to 5 South as they're going. What I believe is the suspect, as they're gonna continue on. Then continuing on, this has all been on ever since as well. This is where they're gonna essentially get back onto it, and as well they have been. That's all I've been seeing when I have something Huntington Park Southgate area headed onto East 10 freeway, as the pursuit was on, like the pursuit where the pursuit took place several hours ago, and this has been going on for nearly 75 minutes now since the police started this chase. CHP is taking over right now this pursuit, and this LAPD chopper air unit overhead from above, and that's crucial. That really helps them with law enforcement. Is right now when they're on the freeway, eastbound 10 freeway from Boyle Heights, going back to normal in reality for now. And there's a TFO, temporary flight officer, and when they're in pursuit, they're overhead. They're giving the information to pursuit about what's up. Construction work, slowing down, wide open. They're relaying a lot of this. 115 miles per hour. This type of pursuit times when the air unit is overhead, and it's the air support continuing on. Turn blinkers, changing lanes, going past other commuters. Traffic seems to be light, and they're going ahead and to broadcast the pursuits as I'm doing this for them. Because if I was a weekend news helicopter working for them with my pilot, I would be taking place and taking over for a pursuit. Because how many people are in that little white car, in that luxury sports car, white sports sedan, a vehicle that's $37,170 of that 2014 Lexus IS250. It was a 2016 Lexus IS250 black and white. Switched sides. Even more dangerous situation. Looks like when they will continue exiting towards Long Beach, Southgate, East LA. Don't make it towards LAX. I swear to God. They're going to head back, and they'll wonder where this road can get them as well. So, but very dangerous. They've been very erratic, non-erratic, then erratic. Continuing drive on the shoulder to get around vehicles. Of course, today's points, all of our points so far, is that they do not know how many people inside that car. Southbound 710 freeway, southwest San Gabriel Valley, and there is now driver safe to assume to drive, and at least given any other exception for compliment, and it simply wants it to take off, and it's been ever since they could speak to that. It didn't seem like a situation, so to speak, where this person getting into that car did not know, looked like a car in the back seat almost was open for the suspect, and then jumped in. That was very nice. And then we had that pursuit of that U-Haul box truck that gets into that waiting black Lexus LS 500 2018 luxury car of the year, speeds up, and then at one point takes off on foot, enters into that LAX's restricted airspace, challenging for, and now hitting the brakes, and they're finally decided to keep going at 100 miles an hour, hitting the brakes once again. If you hit the brakes once again one more time, your brakes could cause a grind. It could overheat, and then brake pads gets hot, and then gets out of the vehicle, and then get out of their vehicle, jumps in another vehicle. Did not look like a carjacking. It was a ride-along carjacking. Remember that. He had a friend here come over there to help him, but a quite contrasting helping him out. Outstanding how we've been talking this. They've been following this for so long that the initial suspect maintaining speeds 95, 100 miles per hour towards Long Beach, southbound 710 freeway, multiple freeways and lanes of traffic, turning off headlights, blacking out their headlights. That's why they have a police air unit night sun overhead. 4 spike strips that were executed 4 times now. Suspects avoids them, drew. Now a car assuming drew a lot of more people. Incredibly dangerous. Let's watch and continue this police pursuit.
I'm assuming, we don't know, of course. He may jump on the 60 if he hasn't already passed it up and head east. I think he already passed it up.
Yeah, it looks like they already passed the 60 there, but you're right back in the Southgate area, and if they get off here, they're in that area that this pursuit pretty much started in, the area we saw for about an hour. Our original suspect continued to just circle around Huntington Park and Southgate, and this is pretty much the area where it looks like we're headed, but we are still on the 710 South as we continue to follow this white vehicle. They have now turned their lights off. We know at least 2 suspects are inside. Our original suspect was possibly wanted for a stolen vehicle, and we know that officers believed that that suspect, who looked like a man when they ran from one car to this one, that person was possibly armed as well. So you have to wonder, is the driver in this car armed? What is the situation? What is the relationship? We don't know all that information, but it seemed like it could be possible that they knew each other.
And this was something that just seemed rather easy for the suspect to jump into the white vehicle, immediately switching gears
Well,
from
I'll be right back.
surface street residential area pursuit into a freeway pursuit, jumping on the 110 North, transitioning to the 101, getting on to the 10, and then jumping on the 710, and now seemingly going back to, or at least back to the general area from where we started. So, pardon me, a lot of questions, Dave, that we still have. We've asked a lot of them. We still don't know the answers to many of them, but I'm curious about what you're thinking right now in terms of the thought process of these suspects, because this is something that we asked you about an hour ago, which is from the police perspective, trying to put themselves into the mind of those suspects. How does that change now that you've had this wild X factor, this new variable thrown into all of this?
It's going to remain the same. You still want to get that suspect. Now, if you notice how the area killed its night sun, I doubt they pulled off. But what they're also doing is they're broadcasting the direction that the suspect going, any off ramp, anything that he comes up on. They'll try to keep their eye on it. They don't necessarily have to keep it lit up because they can see it. Black and whites in the background. I'm not sure how many we have back there anymore, or if we do. They may try to once again de-escalate it, but I don't think that's going to work at all. Not with this suspect, because this suspect is totally committed to getting away.
Yeah, it looks like there is. Yeah, it looks, Dave, like there is at least one LAPD cruiser still following this pursuit suspect there on the ground. They really have pulled back. And you wonder if that's just to really de-escalate things. You can see in our shot here, we went wide open and you couldn't even see that cruiser. But at one point we did see the red and blue flashing lights there as the suspect continues to just dangerously maneuver down the 710 South, going through Compton here. And you wonder what is the end game here, because LAPD has been pursuing now for about an hour and a half, and unfortunately 4 unsuccessful spike strips could not stop the first pursuit. But in this case, we have a whole nother vehicle now. So the question remains, how much gas is in this vehicle? What condition is this vehicle in? How long could this go? It looked like they were gonna maybe head back towards the direction where all of this started, which was Huntington Park, Southgate area. But now they're near Downey, Norwalk on the 710, and it just becomes a very dangerous situation because they do not have those lights on. So it's hard to even make out that white car.
I was about to say, especially given the fact that this car is going so fast. So if you're a different person on the 710 right now, and who knows where you're going, maybe you're going back home after a night, or you're headed somewhere else, but to just, at worst or at best, you're just seeing a zooming vehicle going past you, because the only lights we see from our perspective is just the brake lights, but their headlights are on.
Yeah, we hope drivers down there are paying attention, because this is someone without any headlights you may not see coming, and if you're not fully paying attention on the road there, you could make a maneuver and, just cross right in front of it. I want to see if John Schreiber up in our helicopter there at SkyCal, does he see any LAPD cruisers following this, any police following this vehicle at this time? Okay, there we go.
Yeah, we got at least one.
It looks like at least one LAPD cruiser continues to follow these suspects. We know 2 suspects in that vehicle, and it looks like they're getting trying to gain some ground here, right? Getting a little bit closer. But this just continues to be a dangerous pursuit as this person is going in and out of median on the 710 South through North Long Beach. Now, at some point, they are going to hit the 405. We haven't passed up the 405, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to hit the 405 here. If not, then you're going to go straight into the port. But you wonder what this suspect is going to do, where this person's going.
Dave, I also have a question for you that I know it might be repeating, but it's worth because we just crossed into 9:30 as well for anybody just tuning in. We mentioned earlier the possibility of CHP getting involved, and you made a mention as to how that dynamic works. And my repeat question is essentially, how does that dynamic work in terms of LAPD started with this pursuit, but now you're in a situation where everything's changed, where it's new suspect, new vehicles, now on the freeway. Where does that sort of relationship work in terms of let's take this over, pull back, or no, you keep up with it right now because you've been on it for so long?
I think because of the significance of the crime, as mentioned before, I think LAPD would stay with it, but there may be a point where they request the CHP, and then that's when they will join it. But as I mentioned, usually departments like their own people involved in this. So CHP, and I've been over them before, and they actually had a black and white before, where they said, hey, go ahead and pull off CHP advice that they will go ahead and take it over. So that's what happens. Now, but with the significance of this type of crime and the speeds involved, even if we say that CHP did take it over, we end up at the pursuit where it terminates.
Welcome back, everybody.
LAPD will respond,
I'm back now, guys.
and then they'll take
Thanks
them.
for tuning in.
Okay, well, Dave, we just saw that driver get on the 405 northbound, and if you know the area here, it looks like they're making one big rectangle going from the 405 to the 110, down to
northbound
the 10,
405 freeway,
and then up the 710, now back on the 405. If that was correct there. If I know my roadways, I believe that is the direction they just took. This again can lead us back to the area that they were originally in, right, where they picked up this white vehicle.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're just when you look at it, okay, we've been on freeways, but basically we're just making one big loop, and we are heading back towards that area. Now, whether he turns northbound and gets back to South Central or any of the adjoining cities, that's exactly what could happen. Because they're on the phone, they're talking. Now it's desperation time, more so than it was the first time. This individual here has all the intent of getting away from the police and not being found. But of course, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They will be apprehended.
Especially if they go back to that area, that's just telling that there is no game plan, and many times that is the case. There is no game plan for these suspects that lead police on pursuits that last this long. They don't have an end game here, which is probably why we're now seeing them go up the 405. They're going to hit the 110 eventually here, and we'll see if they will get on the 110 there. But we're watching as at least 2 LAPD cruisers are still pursuing this vehicle there on the ground. 2 suspects inside. We know one possibly armed there. I'm wondering if we can bring up the video, though, of that pretty shocking moment of that suspect that was leading police on this original pursuit getting out of the original vehicle and then making their way into this car here, the white one that is now leading LAPD on pursuit. Do we have that video by chance? Here you go. You watch that suspect.
The car moves off to the right side of your screen. We zoom in and jumps right directly into the back. And just when it seemed like that whole pursuit was coming to an end, because you notice all the other LAPD cruisers coming in from the opposite direction, no, it just takes off right off the road, and that's where this, we'll call it a freeway pursuit, essentially kicks off, because now we've turned into what now we're realizing is similar to what was a lot of loops and rectangles into the same area. Now we'll see if this ends up back to where it originally started, but using all of the freeways.
Are they getting on the 110 here?
It looks like they are.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting on the 110. There you go, back on the 110 north from the 405, and this is where we first hopped on the freeway here, and you can see that is not LAPD behind that suspect. This is now a CHP pursuit. LAPD has handed things off to CHP, and you can see at least one patrol car behind this suspect. They have the light back on that airship as they are pursuing this white vehicle with two suspects through the 110 north. Did I see some sparks there? It looked like possibly some sparks came from the vehicle. I don't know if anyone else
like on the right
was
side.
able to see it. I don't know if maybe something was thrown out of the vehicle, but it looked like there was some sparks that flew near the vehicle there. But the suspect continues to drive with their headlights
Yes, and that's what's made it so dangerous this entire evening, is just the only lights are coming from the brake lights, and that's to avoid the amount of traffic that's on the freeway going at up to 100 miles per hour, just completely different from what we saw earlier. But there is CHP just behind them right now, and we go through what has been this chaotic pursuit since the shift from the initial black vehicle in the Southgate Huntington Park area to now this white vehicle on the freeway, which started on the 110 north, then transitioned to the 101, then going to 10 east, jumped on 710 south, and northbound 405, and now back on the 110 north. So that painting that picture, and that's just the second half. That's just this pursuit that has carried so much weight in and of itself after the tail end of the first pursuit that we were on for about an hour.
Dave, are you still with us here?
Yeah.
We know CHP has now taken over. Many times we see CHP definitely get more, they're a bit more aggressive with their pursuits. Is that something you think we'll see here? And it looks like the suspect is getting off on El Segundo Boulevard here from the 110 north. So hold off on answering that, because we're going to wait to see what this suspect does next, as they're now headed what looks to be on surface streets back in the Harbor Gateway area.
Yes, he's doing exactly what we were anticipating. Just made a big circle. Now he's going to start heading back to where this all originated from the first pursuit. So even though CHP's on it, now they'll go ahead and they'll advise LAPD may just go ahead and jump back on it, get their South End divisions on it. But until they arrive, the CHP will stay right on top of them. And to answer your question, yes, CHP does get a little bit more aggressive, but there was plenty of vehicles on that freeway, so I didn't anticipate any type of aggressive move other than just pursuing it.
If you notice there was a bunch of cones set up, and it was a police vehicle as well, a patrol car. That was a DUI checkpoint that this suspect just bowled through, rolled right over it. And take a look at that. The front passenger side of that vehicle, it looks to have damage. I don't believe that was due to anything that's happened in this pursuit, but you could see there's a lot of damage to that front passenger door there.
Yeah, and that was definitely hard to tell. We actually couldn't even see it based on the perspective of when we initially saw this vehicle. So that's the first time we're getting a closer look at that. But now, this is back to where we all started in the sense of the type of pursuit. Now we've slowed down a bit, going on surface streets, but then in a way it becomes even more dangerous because you're seeing more cars on the road. You're narrowly avoiding it left and right, and you hope that there aren't people going back to what Leslie called it earlier, a spectacle, and that was on the initial pursuit. Now we're in a much more dangerous situation. Not that the first one certainly wasn't dangerous, it was. But now you wonder and hope that people are getting out of the way, and by this point know that this has been ongoing. We're coming up on almost 2 hours of this right now, and the lights make it difficult to keep an eye out, but police, CHP, they've been on this the entire time as they go under the bridge.
Yeah, slowing down right under that bridge there. And there you see that white car
coming to a stop.
We're not seeing anyone open any doors yet, but you can imagine that CHP patrol car is right behind it, and it looks like the suspect is going to make the wrong decision to once again take off.
When I started my record label, the business side of things, taxes, finances, definitely felt like adulting. But just because you start your own thing doesn't mean you have to figure it out on your own. It's been amazing to have a church.
So we were really hoping that they would get out of the car and just give up, right, Dave?
Yes, and I thought just for a second that they would just, you've seen them before where they go under a bridge and then they take off. They leave the vehicle, they run, they go hide on the side of the freeway. But since we had black and whites right on top of them, they moved forward, and I think that kind of blew their whole plan on how to get away. Because now we're not driving as fast, and we have multiple black and whites behind them, all of them code 3. So it looks like this has changed a little bit now, the dynamics of this.
Yeah, and this is where we picked up, right around the area, the same area where we picked up this white car, where this car came into play, right in the southeast Los Angeles area. And you can see 2 CHP vehicles still pursuing this. We've talked about maybe LAPD once again getting in the mix. We haven't seen that happen. Moments ago, we all watched the vehicle come to a stop here, but no one got out, no one opened the doors. We know at least 2 suspects are inside. Our original driver, our original suspect, and the person who is now driving this white car here. But just quite amazing as we watched this suspect drive around an entire checkpoint.
Yes, the DUI checkpoint just blowing right on through it. That's after getting off of the freeway and moving this chase, this pursuit back onto these surface streets in this area where it just goes back to that obvious concern of people, of other vehicles in the area, and you wondered, you thought that right when you got under that bridge and it stopped, not just for a second, but a good few seconds, and maybe that was going to be the end of it, but no, we're still going, Southeast LA right now, and it's, you have to wonder, Dave, what's going through their mind right now, because it's, you made this point earlier about they have to know that this isn't going to end in any other way besides that vehicle comes to a stop and they will be put under arrest. As you notice, four CHP vehicles hovering behind them.
Yeah, you can see I really think that underneath that bridge they had planned to just bail and just take off. That didn't work, and if you notice, now they're driving slow. So I think they're trying to put a plan together, but it's really changed now. So I think they're really worried, or maybe even trying to think about maybe even giving up. Who knows?
Yeah, and
but,
Dave, I think
sure hope so.
We're watching LAPD possibly now take over this pursuit. It looked like one of the CHP patrol cars got out of line there as what looks to be like possibly an LAPD SUV there, now second in line. So we're going to see what happens here. This is in LAX airspace, which is why we're so far away from that pursuit. But we're going to stick with it as much as we can as they continue to head down South Main Street here.
And of course, this is something that, even if we do have to pull away, just because of the dynamics of the situation, we'll keep you posted on what's going on, because as is evident, and as will continue to be evident, police, whether it's CHP or whether it's LAPD taking this back over, they are not going to lose sight of this vehicle because it has now shifted back into what we saw on that initial pursuit, which with the black Lexus that we were keeping an eye on, which was just managing to go between 30-40 miles per hour. It's hard to tell right now whether they are really slowing down to an end.
It feels like very slow speeds right now.
We're getting closer and closer. At least these patrol cars are getting closer and closer. Oh boy, it's so hard to tell. But you wonder and you hope that this could be it. But regardless, there's still a lot of questions to be answered. On top of the fact that is the big concern with the initial driver, the initial chase.
Look how close that patrol car is getting to our suspect's car.
Wow.
It looks like they're coming up. You wonder if they're going to do it.
Now coming up as the sparks was flying, I could tell you it was a little spark. Was on the 110 freeway earlier on the second pursuit that they joined in half an hour ago. Hour and a half ago. Then 100 miles per hour got off the southbound 110 freeway. Then going over the train tracks, slowed down, pulled over, played a little game of cat and mouse, not driving fast as like he was before, but slower speeds, and then shooting a long distance for the LAX's airspace, police helicopter, LAPD chopper air unit, following overhead, getting on top of that LAX's airspace. The TV news helicopters shot a distance as well. I know my pilot's doing a fantastic job, as my camera crew and my photographer, journalist doing a fantastic job. I know we're keeping track of this pursuit a long distance, normal reality distance, but we're having to deal with the LAX's airspace. I know several units behind them, and we'll catch up to this tomorrow. So, for now, I want to thank everybody for tuning. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to my live streaming. You guys are the best. Comment down below. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it as well. Have a great evening. Good night. And we will see you tomorrow for our part 2 on our live streaming video. That's gonna wrap up here as we leave you with that. For now, you have a great evening. Good night.
It looks like they're running out through the gas station.
The suspect took off as well. I can tell you the driver is eventually speeding up. And now entering into that gas station, into that southeast LA. Another person is driving. Might have been a suspect that took off there as well, as we are dealing with LAX's airspace. We'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching. Comment down below. Good night.
That I had of the first suspect in the first pursuit. So they were both off him. So we'll see what happens. The additional units will deploy on the vehicle itself, and then they have to be concerned about the victims involved in this.
Yeah, and you can see one police patrol car making its way down this roadway here. They're all coordinating to try to find those suspects, and as you mentioned, Dave, to make sure that any victims are okay. I do want to let our viewers know that we are getting a 1-minute warning here that SkyCal will need to refuel, so we're going to unfortunately have to pull off this, but we are going to keep our ear out on our assignment desk, as well as try to get in connection with LAPD and CHP there on the ground to try to get the very latest, as they are it looks like possibly
back in pursuit, perhaps.
back in
It looks like
pursuit
right
of
now.
that suspect.
It looks like we had so many questions as to what was going on because Leslie noticed the head-on crash there and what looked like at least one person jumping out and going on the run. But now, based on what we're seeing here, it looks like back in pursuit right now in the Southeast LA area. But it's going to be difficult. And again, a point to mention that this is now taking on a third chapter, so to speak, of this chase as we approach the 10 o'clock hour this evening, a 2-hour pursuit that started as one pursuit, shifted into that suspect jumping into another vehicle, and SkyCal's going to have to go fuel up right now. So we'll keep an update on everything for you. We'll keep you posted as we do always in these situations, both on air and online. In the meantime, though, as we let SkyCal go fuel up,